Mariette, if we just focus a little bit on Europe and the entire Brexit situation, that's nationalism at another level. Some would call it bizarre nationalism. But it still represents a threat, not just to Europe, but I think the signals, and economically there could be linkages to other economies as well. How do you see that as a real problem going forward for economies around the world?
So I think in Europe we are now faced with the UK in frankly a political chaos. And we've talked about President Trump, we talked about trade wars, and I think all of this boils down to questions of governance and political leadership. And in the case of Brexit, I have hardly ever seen more irresponsible political brinkmanship, as we've seen from Prime Minister Cameron, who of course has long abandoned the scene, and the consequences are still there for the people. And I think the sadness is not only that the UK is leaving, because it's a lose-lose, I believe, for Europe and the UK, but also that the people who voted for Brexit will suffer the most from its consequences. And I can only hope that the lessons of Brexit, all of them, questions about political leadership and the absence of it, articulation of what could happen in the case of Brexit, which was really absent. We were discouraged as European politicians from getting engaged because we were presumed to be poor messengers for what European cooperation means. And now we can see letters in British newspapers every day from Germans, maybe the Dutch tomorrow, the French the day after, saying, we will miss you. We care about our relationship, not only economically, strategically, for security reasons, but people to people. The Brits were part of the allies that liberated our continent. That is a deeply felt connection, not only through modern day relations, but really also historically. So I think there are a lot of lessons learned, but it has also changed the dynamic for the rest of the EU 27 member states, where I see profoundly more leadership in terms of multilateralism, rules-based trade, which is what I believe this is all about. Yeah. It is about not only having rules of fairness on the books, but also a perception of fairness among the people, about the redistribution of the macroeconomic benefits that trade can bring if it's done well, and how it trickles down. So I'm a big believer in Europe stepping into the void that America leaves under Trump, and working with partners that are like-minded, such as India. I really believe there's an extraordinary opportunity, and I hope you all see it too, for closer cooperation between India and the EU. And I hope that there will be also leadership coming from India towards that, because in a time of geopolitical clashes and repositioning of great global powers, we cannot overlook the significance of India as a democracy and as a potentially stronger player in this whole space.